There was a time when Mel Gibson stood at the very center of Hollywood's imagination, a figure who seemed larger than the industry itself. He wasn't just another leading man, he was a cultural force whose presence on screen felt volatile, emotional, and uncontainable. From the moment he emerged in global cinema, audiences were drawn to his intensity, as if he carried both brilliance and danger in equal measure. He became a symbol of masculine heroism in films that defined generations, yet behind that image, there were already signs of inner turbulence that few chose to notice. His journey, however, was never a simple rise and fall. It was a slow layering of triumphs, contradictions, and personal battles that would eventually collide in public view. Fame elevated him, but it also magnified every flaw. Admiration turned into scrutiny, and eventually scrutiny hardened into judgment. The same audience that once celebrated him began to question him, and the shift was as dramatic as his earlier ascent. This is not just a story about a career in decline. It is a portrait of a man caught between genius and self-destruction, between legacy and consequence, and between the world's memory of him and his own reality. From New Beginnings to The Fire of Mad Max, born in 1956 in Peekskill, New York, Mel Gibson grew up in a large family that would later move to Australia, a shift that quietly shaped his identity. That dual influence, American origin and Australian upbringing, gave him a unique presence that would later distinguish him in cinema. He was not immediately destined for fame. Instead, his early life reflected discipline, instability, and a search for direction that never fully settled. His breakthrough came unexpectedly with Mad Max, a low-budget Australian film that transformed into a global phenomenon. Gibson's portrayal of a hardened, grief-stricken road warrior captured something primal in audiences. It wasn't polished stardom, it was raw survival energy. The film's success didn't just launch his career, it redefined what international audiences expected from action cinema. What made him stand out was not just physical presence but emotional volatility. He played characters who felt wounded beneath their strength, and that contradiction became his signature. As Mad Max expanded into a franchise, Gibson became a global face of rebellion, embodying a kind of chaotic heroism that felt both thrilling and unstable. Even then, the intensity that made him compelling also hinted at deeper fractures forming beneath the surface. Rise of a leading man in the 1980s. The 1980s marked Mel Gibson's transformation from cult figure to mainstream superstar. Films like Gallipoli, The Year of Living Dangerously, and Lethal Weapon showcased his range, allowing him to move between emotional drama and explosive action with ease. Hollywood saw in him a rare combination of vulnerability and aggression, a duality that made him irresistible to audiences across genres. As Lethal Weapon became a global success, Gibson cemented himself as one of the defining action stars of the decade. His role as Martin Riggs wasn't just about physical danger, it was about psychological unraveling. He portrayed a man on the edge, balancing humor with deep emotional instability, a character that mirrored the complexity he brought to many of his roles. Behind the scenes, however, fame began to create distance between his public image and private life. He was known as charismatic but unpredictable, disciplined yet emotionally intense. Those who worked closely with him often described a man who could shift quickly between warmth and volatility. Still, the industry largely embraced him, seeing only the success, not the strain building beneath it. Braveheart and the crown of creative power. With Braveheart, Mel Gibson reached a defining peak that few actors ever achieve. Not only did he star in the film, but he also directed and produced it, taking full creative control over a project that many studios initially doubted. The film's eventual success, including multiple Academy Awards, elevated him from star to auteur, placing him in a rare category of Hollywood visionaries. The story of William Wallace resonated deeply with audiences, blending themes of freedom, sacrifice, and defiance. Gibson's performance carried emotional weight that felt personal, almost confessional. Every frame of the film reflected a level of commitment that blurred the line between storytelling and self-expression. Yet the success also marked a turning point. Power in Hollywood brought independence, but it also reduced external accountability. Gibson was no longer just an actor following direction. He was now a filmmaker shaping entire narratives. That control intensified both his creative output and his internal pressure. Braveheart became not only a triumph but also a symbolic threshold, where artistic success began to intersect with personal strain. Passion of the Christ and the Weight of Conviction. In 2004, Mel Gibson took an extraordinary risk by self-financing The Passion of the Christ. The film was deeply personal, rooted in his religious beliefs and spiritual convictions. it was also one of the most polarizing films of its time, praised by supporters for its emotional intensity and criticized by others for its graphic portrayal and thematic interpretation. Despite controversy, the film became a global box office phenomenon. Its success demonstrated Gibson's ability to bypass traditional studio systems and connect directly with audiences on a visceral level. However, the polarizing response also intensified scrutiny around him, shifting public perception further into complexity and debate. At this stage, Gibson was no longer just a filmmaker or actor, he had become a figure of cultural argument. Supporters saw him as fearless and authentic, while critics viewed him as controversial and divisive. The weight of that dual identity added pressure to an already strained personal life. The line between conviction and isolation began to blur, setting the stage for a more public unraveling in the years that followed. The DUI, arrest, and public breakdown. The turning point in Mel Gibson's public life came in 2006 with a DUI arrest in Malibu. What should have been a private legal issue quickly escalated into global controversy due to the statements he made during the arrest. His remarks were widely condemned, and the incident instantly transformed his public image. Hollywood reacted swiftly. Studios distanced themselves, colleagues remained silent, and the media amplified every detail of the event. For a figure who had once been celebrated as a cinematic icon, the fall was abrupt and unforgiving. In a single moment, decades of goodwill began to erode. Gibson issued apologies and entered rehabilitation, acknowledging struggles with alcoholism that had persisted for years. Yet the damage extended beyond the incident itself. It altered how the industry perceived him permanently. He was no longer just a troubled star, he became a symbol of downfall. The transformation from revered filmmaker to controversial figure was complete, and recovery would prove far more difficult than the collapse itself. Scandal, leaked tapes, and total isolation. In the years following his arrest, Mel Gibson faced further controversy when private recordings of heated personal arguments surfaced publicly. The audio revealed moments of extreme anger and emotional instability, intensifying public backlash and reinforcing the narrative of a man in crisis. These revelations led to legal disputes, restraining orders, and widespread media condemnation. Many in Hollywood distanced themselves completely, and his once strong professional network weakened significantly. The industry that had once celebrated him now treated him with caution or silence. Gibson's personal struggles with addiction and emotional volatility became central to public discussion, often overshadowing his earlier achievements. While he continued to work in smaller projects, his reputation remained deeply fractured. The contrast between his cinematic legacy and his personal controversies created a lasting divide in how he was perceived. At this stage, isolation became a defining feature of his life. Opportunities diminished, trust eroded, and the spotlight that once followed him everywhere now seemed permanently turned away. Years in exile and the fight for stability. After the peak of controversy, Mel Gibson entered a quieter phase of life marked by limited visibility and reduced industry presence. He continued to work sporadically, taking on smaller acting roles and independent projects while stepping away from mainstream attention. This period was defined less by career activity and more by personal struggle. Reports from those around him described a man attempting to regain balance, battling addiction, and confronting the consequences of past actions. His faith remained a central part of his identity, yet it often coexisted with feelings of guilt and self-recrimination. Despite the distance from Hollywood's center, Gibson never fully withdrew from filmmaking. Instead, he operated on the margins, gradually rebuilding trust in smaller circles. However, the emotional and reputational damage remained significant, and the path back to mainstream acceptance was uncertain. This era was not defined by collapse or comeback, but by endurance. It was a long, uneven attempt to stabilize a life that had been fractured in the public eye. Hacksaw Ridge and a partial redemption. In 2016, Mel Gibson returned to major directing with Hacksaw Ridge, a World War II film based on the true story of Desmond Doss. The project marked a significant turning point, signaling his re-entry into mainstream filmmaking after years of absence. The film was widely praised for its emotional depth, technical execution, and powerful storytelling. It received multiple Academy Award nominations and won several major awards, re-establishing Gibson's reputation as a capable and compelling director. For many observers, it represented a form of artistic redemption. However, the response was complex. While the industry acknowledged his talent, the emotional distance from his past controversies remained. The success of Hacksaw Ridge did not erase history. Instead, it coexisted with it. Gibson was once again recognized for his craft, but cautiously. This moment demonstrated that while professional recovery was possible, full public restoration was far more complicated. His return was real, but it was not complete. A complicated later life and enduring reputation. In the years following his return, Mel Gibson continued working in film, often in supporting roles or behind-the-scenes capacities. His presence in Hollywood became more measured, less dominant than in his earlier decades. Yet he remained active, contributing to projects that reflected both experience and restraint. Public perception of him remained divided. Some viewed him as a figure who had faced consequences and continued moving forward. Others saw him primarily through the lens of past controversies. This duality shaped his modern legacy, making it one of the most complex in contemporary Hollywood history. Privately, he was often described as reflective and focused, spending time with family and maintaining a quieter lifestyle. The intensity that once defined his public persona appeared softened, replaced by a more subdued presence. Still, the weight of his past never fully disappeared. It remained embedded in how he was discussed, remembered, and evaluated. His story became less about resolution and more about contradiction. Conclusion: a life defined by triumph and fracture. Mel Gibson's story is not a simple narrative of rise and fall, but a long arc shaped by extraordinary success and profound personal struggle. He achieved heights that placed him among the most influential figures in modern cinema, yet those achievements became inseparable from the controversies that followed. His legacy exists in fragments, iconic performances, groundbreaking films, public scandals, and attempts at redemption. Each part tells a different version of the same man. Together, they form a portrait that is neither purely tragic nor fully triumphant, but deeply human. At this stage of his life, he remains active but no longer central to Hollywood's identity. Instead, he occupies a space shaped by memory, debate, and reflection. Whether viewed as a genius, a cautionary tale, or something in between, his impact on cinema is undeniable. Ultimately, his story resists a clean conclusion. It is defined not by an ending, but by ongoing tension between what he was, what he became, and what he is still trying to resolve.